Diplomacy apart, Ukrainians are wary. While the unease over the two-day ceasefire continues, life goes on at its own pace in the war-torn country. The local residents can be seen going about daily life despite hearing the explosions. These images are from the East Ukrainian city of Kramatorsk, just before the 36-hour truce announced by Russia came into force. The residents are, however, hopeful that Kramatorsk will hold through against the Russian attack.
Of course I heard it. There were several hits. I think we still have the guys that are holding Bakhmut and other directions. So we will be fine. Ukraine will win. Defeat these animals. There is no other name for them. Anyway, all this will end soon. Kramatorsk will hold through. I tell people we should pray for the guys holding Bakhmut. If Bakhmut is given up, Kramatorsk will suffer heavily.
Today, they're congratulating us, as they always do. It's bad, very bad. That's what I think. We need to pressure them, get them to leave. Maybe more air defense systems would help. This happens often, not only on festive occasions, every other day.
People in Ukraine remain skeptical of Russia upholding the brief truce during the Orthodox Christmas in the region. People in the capital city of Kiev believe that Russia is prolonging the war and taking time to regroup by calling a ceasefire.
You can never trust them. Never. They do nothing. Whatever they promise, they don't deliver. They said there would be no war yesterday. They said today they attacked. We don't trust them.
Regarding the ceasefire that is happening now, I think that Putin is simply prolonging the war. He needs this ceasefire precisely in order to find time to regroup and start all over again, to start an offensive.
After Kremlin had ordered a last-minute truce to begin on the 6th of January, Ukraine had spurned the decision as a ploy to halt Ukraine's advance. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, who has 21 years of service, including 4 combat deployments. He is a senior fellow and military expert for defense priorities, coming to us from Virginia, United States. Thank you for being with us on this broadcast. Now, people in the capital city of Kiev believe that Russia is prolonging the war and taking time to regroup by calling the ceasefire. What is your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing people talk about that a lot. Actually, you know, anytime the idea of a ceasefire comes in, that's almost a reflexive comment. Not in this case, though, because it's just not enough time. If you're going to try to regroup and be prepared for other offensive operations, you'd need at least a minimum of multiple weeks, if not months. But 36 hours is not enough to do anything except for just try to rest for a day or two. And I think it probably was something close to what it looks like on face value, because it really doesn't provide any help to either side. It just is a very brief pause in a very bloody war.
Right. Now, Lieutenant, Ukrainians are wary, and perhaps rightly so, as the artillery exchanges continue to pound Ukrainian cities in the east, despite Vladimir Putin's unilateral order to his forces to stop attacking for 36 hours.
It's really impossible to know, because really both sides are going to claim the exact opposite thing. One, the Russian side says, you know, they are following the truce, but that they said they would respond to any attacks. The Ukraine side is saying, oh, no, then they set a truce and then they violated it. It's really impossible to tell. All we do know is that, you know, there's some deeply held animosities and hatred towards one another, especially those on the front lines, on either side of the front lines. And you know, you can certainly understand why they would feel that way, because they're the ones that are underneath this barrage.
Right, and just before the ceasefire came into effect, there were many explosions heard in Kramatorsk. Residents there, though, are hopeful that Kramatorsk will hold through. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's one of the persons that you interviewed just a second ago really said it correctly. If Bakhmut falls, then Kramatorsk and Soledar and several other places, to include that city that you just mentioned there, that becomes a much more threat because they're getting artillery rounds fired at them now. But if the Russians were to move in and take Bakhmut, they could come much closer, and more artillery systems will come in range of Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, its sister city there. And if Russia was able to take those, that gives them a significant advantage in the anticipation of winter offensives. And right now, it looks like both sides are getting ready for a winter offensive, both on the Ukraine and the Russian side. And really, it's going to come down to who's able to prepare and launch first, because I think that side will have at least an initial advantage.
Right. And finally, in the bigger picture, do you think that how do you think they are faring? Are they advancing in reclaiming their own territory?
Well, since the huge moves they had from August into October in the Kharkiv area and forcing Russia out of the Kherson city, it's kind of stalled out since then because it took an enormous amount of energy and resources and personnel to be able to win those battles, but they've kind of played themselves out. And now you see a pretty static line, and it's basically solidified across the expanse of the 1,500 kilometer zone. And now you have positional battles in the Bakhmut area, especially of the Donbass, where both sides are really trying to attrition and just destroy as many of the other side's forces as they can to try to set the stage for what comes next. And that's the big battle. And as you saw there, that Ukraine got promises of a lot more armored vehicles today. That's going to be a while before it manifests in numbers on the battlefield, but at least it's coming. So Ukraine wants to hold the line until they can form an offensive. And, of course, Russia is going to try to probably have a spoiling attack before that happens.
Right. We'll leave it there. Lieutenant Colonel Davis, thank you very much for being with us. WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.